And I tell you, pollen is a very interesting discipline. Ha! We are back to the future! Did we miss anything?
It's so nice to be back.
It's the end of the year.
And summer is here.
And I've called you all here because this is the last video I will be making.
What? Protest!
Oh, no.
You cannot do this!
Yes.
Protest!
The last video. Before the end of school.
We were never going to make a video again.
And since this is the last video before summer break, let's make this one count.
Yes,
alright.
definitely.
So what is this video going to be about? Plants. Sexual reproduction of plants, its purposes, applications, and relationship with the environment. Plant reproduction is a tremendously important topic in biology. In fact, plants are the foundations of ecosystems worldwide, providing oxygen, food, and shelter.
Additionally, their contribution to the nutrient cycle is vital for the functioning of ecosystems.
Plants are indeed the lungs, heart, and organs of the earth.
As living beings, plants are capable of producing fertile offspring to ensure the continuity of their species.
Plants are also very green. This presentation will focus on general information and recent advancements in the domain of sexual reproduction of plants. Since this is about plant sexual reproduction, we should talk about reproduction in general, right?
That's right. The need for reproduction is a fundamental aspect of the living world. It is the reproduction of living beings that drove the world to evolve. And it is the need for reproduction that fostered the development of complex organisms.
Reproduction can be divided into two types: sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction occurs when two individuals exchange genetic information to produce offspring. In developed organisms, the exchange of genetic information occurs during fertilization, a process which requires gametes.
Indeed, sexual reproduction in plants involves multiple components, and plant reproduction is composed of multiple stages, which include flowering, pollination, fertilization, seed dispersal, and germination. Flowering marks the maturity of a plant and its ability to produce fertile offsprings. This is one of the most eye-appealing and beautiful stages in plant sexual reproduction.
Hey everyone, did you know that flowers can have therapeutic effect on mental health? A research study showed that different flower colors can evoke different emotions, such as relaxation and positivity. The blue daisy color prompts a feeling of relaxation, the yellow daisy color a feeling of positivity, and the white color both relaxation and positivity.
And we also need to talk about the different structures of flowers, right? Hermaphrodites, monoecious, dioecious.
Of course, flowers are usually depicted as having both the female and male reproductive organs together. Such plants are, in fact, called hermaphrodites, since they already have all the required reproductive organs in one flower.
However, not all plants have male and female reproductive organs found in one single flower. Plants that have distinct male and female flowers are called monoecious.
There are also species of plants in which each individual organism has its own sex. This means that in the species there are plants that are exclusively female, that produce only female flowers. And there are also exclusively male plants producing exclusively male flowers. Such plants are called dioecious.
Hey, Mr. Viviano, anything you would like to say?
Is this magic? I can see people through this flat screen.
Anyways, here are the reproductive components of a flower. Pollen is produced by the anthers on filament, and the ovules are produced in the ovary. The stigma is the entrance to the ovary, and there is a tube called the style between the stigma and the ovary.
In order for it to reach the stigma, the pollen either drifts to it or is carried by a vector to the stigma. Vectors describe any agent that is responsible for transporting the pollen. Examples include birds, wind, animals, and water.
Oh, I found something. This magical device is so useful. It says here that moths are more important than bees when in terms of pollination. It says that a third of all pollination in flowering plants and crops and trees are done by moths. Isn't that unexpected?
Yes, very interesting, Mr. Viviano. Now, having reached the stigma, the pollen travels down the style and fertilizes the ovules in the ovary to form a zygote. This zygote will develop into a seed and may be enveloped in fruit for protection or for dispersal.
And here are some interesting ways sexually reproducing plants spread their seeds. Some use wind, some use animals, and others don't use either. They fire their seeds away. This is called ballistic seed dispersal, and both the Himalayan balsam and the exploding cucumber are good examples of plants that use this method to spread their offsprings.
Plants are incredible living creatures. However, with global warming and climate change, plants worldwide face a grim fate. A recent research study on the effects of global warming on members of the Dictocarpaceae family, a predominant species of tropical trees in Southeast Asia, demonstrated that flowering rates in these species are declining.
Oui, I know about this too. In fact, rainforests in Southeast Asia experience mass flowering and reproduction periods throughout the year. Different species in the ecosystem bloom and produce seeds in synchrony. They found out that between 1970 and 2010, there was a steady decrease in reproduction rates in members of the Dipterocarpaceae family.
The future of rainforests sexually reproducing plants will be gravely affected by the changing climate.
Sexual plant reproduction has a plethora of applications in a wide range of industries. Crop improvement and plant breeding utilize sexual reproduction to create offsprings with desired traits to increase productivity and crop yield. In addition, the seeds in seed banks all come from sexually reproducing plants. These seed banks aim to protect and preserve plant diversity in the event of an apocalypse.
The sexual aspect of plant reproduction allowed for early scientists to gain an understanding of genetics and comprehend dominant and recessive traits. You all know about Gregor Mendel, right?
Of course, who doesn't? Gregor Mendel, the famous scientist who pioneered the field of genetics by using the properties of sexual reproduction in pea plants. By crossing purebreds and using dihybrid crossing, Mendel observed, unbeknownst to him, haploid gametes forming diploid zygotes.
One of the many advantages of sexual reproduction is that it promotes biodiversity. In fact, the process of producing pollen and ovules consists of 2 consecutive splittings that generate 4 haploid cells ready for reproduction. Right before the first splitting, called meiosis I, the replicated homologous chromosomes form tetrads and exchange genetic information. This process is called synapsis, and it allows for infinite allele combination possibilities.
When the organisms reproduce sexually, there is a lot of room for variety. If we use maple trees, for example, some members of the species will have dark leaves, others will have green leaves. Some of them will have short roots, others will have long roots.
Plant sexual reproduction therefore favors the survival of the species in the event of natural disasters.
For example, when a drought occurs in a forest of maple trees, it will affect the members with the shortest roots because they are not able to reach deeper in the soil for water. However, maple trees with longer roots will be able to survive the drought since they can reach the water from the depths of the ground.
In conclusion, sexual reproduction of plants is a fundamental process that ensures the continuity of species and creates biodiversity.
It has significant applications in crop improvement, genetics, and conservation.
However, global warming and climate change pose challenges for plant sexual reproduction, as evidenced by the decreasing flowering rates in the rainforests.
Understanding and protecting sexual reproduction in plants is crucial for the future of ecosystems and for the survival of plant species in the face of environmental changes.
And that is the end.